Hi, my name is Brenda Ness, the author of Secrets Revealed at the Time of the End. I am reading and teaching my entire book on YouTube videos. This is my website where you can order my book. This is the top of the home page where I have the author's inspiration. You can order books here, and my bio is here, and here is where you can contact me. Now, if you are located outside of the United States, you will need to contact me to let me know what country you are in so I can tell you how much postage you will need to get a printed copy. Of course, a PDF file, it does not matter. Here's the order information at the bottom of the home page. I also have a short YouTube video on how to order the book. You may follow me here on YouTube by clicking this icon at the bottom of the page. That will take you to all my videos, which are numbered in order of the chapters, and there are two introductory videos. One's called The Cover, where I explain the picture on the front of the cover and read the back of the book, and then I have an introduction video also. You can get to that website by going to estherofisrael.wix.com/secrets revealed. The chapters are in order 1 through 6, and I am now going to record chapter 7. Prophecy from Enoch and the Book of Jubilees. I will be quoting some verses from both the books of Enoch and the Book of Jubilees because I believe they pertain to the end-time prophecies. Before I began my study, I didn't even know these books existed, but as always, I managed to glean a little something or other from each source material that I read. So in this chapter, I am explaining my interpretation. In my next book, I will cover the two books more thoroughly. You can download them for free from the internet in PDF format if you would like to read them yourself. Google All Books of Enoch for the Books of Enoch and Book of Jubilees PDF for the Book of Jubilees. From the Books of Enoch, I am only quoting the first book of Enoch, Enoch 1, so it is the only one I will describe. The Books of Enoch. The Book of the Watchers, Enoch 1, an ancient Jewish religious work ascribed to Enoch, Noah's great-grandfather. Not regarded as scripture by most, it is believed to have been written between 300 and 100 BC. The oldest copies of the book found are written in Ge'ez. Aramaic fragments were found with the Dead Sea Scrolls. The Enoch, who was Noah's great-grandfather, would have lived on earth about 5,000 years ago. So if they are ascribing him credit for writing it, they are several millennia off. In some so-called expert analysis of prophecy that I've read, the scholar performing the analysis does not seem to believe that God can predict the future. What I mean is, give revelation thousands of years before the events happen. So they develop a time frame that is more acceptable to the general population. In my opinion, the book was actually written by Enoch himself and passed down through his descendants, where it was rewritten in the languages of each time period, up until the life of Christ. Then after his death and resurrection and the martyrdom of his apostles, it seems to have gone dormant, with the exception of the Coptic Christians of Egypt. As though an unaccepting society tried to rid the world of the book as thoroughly as they snuffed out the apostles. Enoch is said to have been the first person to write, and he is the 7th generation from creation. Everything that God does is connected in a perfect order. The 7th letter of the Hebrew alphabet is Zayin, which means sword, which is what the Word of God is often called, so it makes perfect sense that Enoch, the 7th generation, would have been a writer and the original author of this book. Ephesians 6:17, and take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the Word of God. Hebrews 4:12, For the word of God is quick and powerful and sharper than a two-edged sword, piercing even to the dividing asunder of soul and spirit and of the joints and marrow, and is a discerner of the thoughts and intent of the heart. And Enoch was also found to be the first human righteous enough to be taken up to heaven by God while he was still alive. Jude quotes the book of Enoch so matter-of-factly, like he had the book memorized. For me, it is obvious Jude had read and thoroughly studied, at the very least, the first book of Enoch. Hebrews 11:5, by faith Enoch was translated that he should not see death, and was not found, because God had translated him, for before his translation he had the testimony that he pleased God. Jude 1:14-15, Enoch was the seventh person after Adam. That is also found in 1 Enoch 68. And he was talking about these people when he said, "Look, the Lord is coming with thousands and thousands of holy angels to judge everyone. He will punish all those ungodly people for all the evil things they have done. The Lord will surely punish those ungodly sinners for every evil thing they have ever said about him." That again is from Jude, and now here it is from 1 Enoch, chapter 1, verses 8 and 9. But for the righteous he will make peace, and he will keep safe the chosen, and mercy will be upon them. They will all belong to God and will prosper and be blessed, and the light of God will shine on them. And behold, he comes with 10,000 holy ones to execute judgment upon them and to destroy the impious and to contend with all flesh concerning everything that the sinners and the impious have done and wrought against him. These verses are about the war and judgment at the end of the millennium, after he has made peace. Compare to this description from the book of Revelation, and I have matched up the parts of the verses with the same colored highlighting. Revelation 20:7-15. And when the 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison, and shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four quarters of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them together to battle, the number of whom is as the sand of the sea. And they went up on the breadth of the earth, and compassed the camp of the saints about, and the beloved city. And fire came down from God out of heaven, and devoured them. God will keep his chosen people safe. And the devil that deceived them was cast into the lake of fire and brimstone, where the beast and the false prophet are, and shall be tormented day and night forever and ever. And I saw a great white throne, and him that sat on it, from whose face the earth and the heaven fled away, and there was found no place for them. And I saw the dead, small and great, stand before God, and the books were opened, and another book was opened, which is the book of life. And the dead were judged out of those things which were written in the books, according to their works. And the sea gave up the dead which were in it, and death and hell delivered up the dead which were in them, and they were judged every man according to their works. And death and hell were cast into the lake of fire. This is the second death. And whosoever was not found written in the book of life was cast into the lake of fire. Revelation 21:1-27. And I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth were passed away, and there was no more sea. And I, John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, come down from God out of heaven, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. And I heard a great voice out of heaven saying, Behold, the tabernacle of God is with men, and he will dwell with them, and they shall be his people, and God himself shall be with them, and be their God. And God shall wipe away all the tears from their eyes, and there shall be no more death, neither sorrow nor crying, neither shall there be any more pain, for the former things are passed away. And he that sat upon the throne said, Behold, I make all things new. And he said unto me, Write, for these words are true and faithful. And he said unto me, It is done. I am the Alpha and Omega. Remember I taught about Aleph and Tav, the beginning and the end. I will give unto him that is athirst the fountain of the water of life freely. He that overcometh shall inherit all things, and I will be his God, and he shall be my son. But the fearful and unbelieving, the abominable, murderers, whoremongers, sorcerers, idolaters, all liars, shall have their part in the lake, which burneth with fire and brimstone, which is the second death. And there came unto me one of the 7 angels, which had the 7 vials full of the 7 last plagues, and talked with me, saying, Come hither, I will show thee the bride, the Lamb's wife. And he carried me away in the Spirit to a great and high mountain, and showed me that great city, the holy Jerusalem, descending out of heaven from God, having the glory of God, and her light was like unto a stone most precious, even like a jasper stone, clear as crystal, and had a wall great and high, and had 12 gates, and at the 12 gates were 12 angels, and the names were written thereon, which are the same names as the 12 tribes of the children of Israel. On the east 3 gates, and on the north 3 gates, on the south 3 gates, and on the west 3 gates. And the wall of the city had 12 foundations, and in them the names of the 12 apostles of the Lamb. And he that talked with me had a golden reed to measure the city, and the gates thereof, and the walls thereof. And the city lieth foursquare, and the length is as large as the breadth. And he measured the city with the reed, 12,000 furlongs. The length and the breadth and the height of it are equal. Remember when we measured the temple, the third temple on earth? They only measured the inner court because the rest was unholy. As you can see here, they are measuring the whole thing. And he measured the wall thereof, and 144 cubits, according to the measure of a man, that is, of the angel. And the building of the wall of it was of jasper, and the city was pure gold, like unto clear glass. And the foundations of the walls of the city were garnished with all manner of precious stones. The first foundation was jasper, the second sapphire, the third chalcedony, the fourth emerald, the fifth sardonyx, the sixth sardius, the seventh chrysolite, the eighth beryl, the ninth a topaz, the 10th a chrysoprasus, the 11th a jacinth, and the 12th an amethyst. And the 12 gates were 12 pearls, every several gates was one of pearl, and the street of the city was pure gold, as it were transparent glass. And I saw no temple therein, for the Lord God Almighty and the Lamb are the temple of it. And the city had no need of the sun, neither of the moon to shine in it, for the glory of God did lighten it, and the Lamb is the light thereof. And the nations of them which are saved shall walk in the light of it, and the kings of the earth do bring their glory and honor into it. And the gates of it shall not be shut at all by day, for there shall be no night there. And they shall bring the glory and honor of the nations into it, and there shall in no wise enter into it anything that defileth it, neither whatsoever worketh abomination, or maketh a lie, but they which are written in the Lamb's book of life. Back to the scholar's description of Enoch 1. It is argued that all the writers of the New Testament were familiar with the books of Enoch and were influenced by them in thought and diction, which says to me that Jesus was not opposed to Enoch's writings, and that he had most likely read and studied them too. The first part describes the fall of the Watchers, the angels who fathered the Nephilim. The rest of the book describes Enoch's visits to heaven in the form of travels, visions, dreams, and his revelations. There are 5 distinctive works. The shared view of them is that they were originally independent works with different dates of composition. It is believed the books of Enoch were rejected by the Jews because Enoch asserts that the angels sinned and revolted from God, which the Jewish authorities disagree with. The Book of Jubilees. This is the history of the division of the days of the Torah and of the testimony of the events of the years of their year weeks. Festivals of the covenant, of their Shabbats, of their Jubilees throughout all the years of the world, as Yahweh, God, spoke to Moshe on Mount Sinai when he went up to receive the tables of the Torah and of the commandment according to the voice of Yahweh, as he said to him, "Go up to the mountain, to the top of the mountain." The translation that I read did not state who the author was or when the book of Jubilees was written, but it appears that the opening verse implies that Moshe, or Moses, was the author. Jubilees 1:1-6. And it came to pass in the first year of the exodus of the children of Israel out of Egypt, in the 3rd month, on the 16th day of the month, 2450 Anno Mundi, that Yahweh spoke to Moshe, saying, "Come up to me on the mount, and I will give you 2 tables of stone, of the Torah, and of the commandment which I have written, that you may teach them." And Moshe went up into the mount of Yahweh, and the splendor of Yahweh abode on Mount Sinai. And a cloud overshadowed it 6 days, and he called to Moshe on the 7th day out of the midst of the cloud. And the appearance of the splendor of Yahweh was like a flaming fire on the top of the mount. And Moshe was on the mount 40 days and 40 nights. And Yahweh taught him the earlier and the later history of the division of all the days of the Torah and of the testimony. And he said, "Incline your heart to every word which I shall speak to you on this mount, and write them in a book, in order that their generations may see how I have not forsaken them for all the evil which they have wrought, and transgressing the covenant which I established between me and you for their generations this day on Mount Sinai. And thus it will come to pass, when all these things come upon them, that they will recognize that I am more righteous than they in all their judgments and in all their actions, and they will recognize that I have been truly with them." On the Hebrew calendar, 5782 is a Sabbath year and a Jubilee year. It is divisible by 7 and also by 49. According to the timeline I show in this book, the first year of the 7-year tribulation is 5782. I use information from the calendar that Israel is currently using and has been using since the 4th century AD, the Hillel version anyway. Before that they were using the same thing, but they were waiting for the sliver of the moon. Hillel just did some calculations so that they could look way far into the future. The Jewish people have been using it all these centuries, even though they did not have a nation to call their own. Remember that the designer of this calendar used historical data from Jewish and Hebrew records to develop it, meaning it could be accurate enough to backtrack to the flood of Noah's day, as I had explained in Chapter 2. As I mentioned before, you can Google either one of Israel's popular newspapers, the Jerusalem Post or the Haaretz, and see the dates displayed under the heading. They are from both the Christian and Hebrew calendars. There is much controversy on whether the Hebrew year count is accurate or not. Many experts argue and speculate about how many years off it might be. I am saying that God is and was fully aware of the date that Israel would be using at this point in time, when he created all things, whether modern secular science thinks it's correct or not. And of course, God also knew what date the Christian calendar would be on. Under my assumption that the Hebrew year count is correct, there are a few noteworthy items I would like to bring to your attention. 5782 is a Sabbath year. 5782 divided by 7 equals the last year of the 826th week of years since creation. It is also the last year of a Jubilee. 5782 divided by 49 equal the last year of the last week of years of the 118th Jubilee. Many people think we have to wait a full 6,000 years before the millennium can start. I believe that God intended it to be cut short. Matthew 24:22. If God doesn't make the time shorter, no one will be left alive, but because of God's chosen ones, he will make the time shorter. I am not God and do not claim to know everything he is doing, but I can't see this civilization lasting another 225 years without some kind of major setback in communications and transportation. For example, the complete loss of all sources of electrical power forever. And God has demonstrated a shortening of years before, with the age that humans become old and die. Genesis 6:3, and the Lord said, My spirit shall not always strive with man, for that he also is flesh, yet his days shall be 120 years. Prior to this, people were living longer than 9 centuries, Methuselah being the oldest at 969. Genesis 5:27, and all the days of Methuselah were 960 and 9 years, and he died. According to the book of Jubilees, a jubilee is exactly 49 years long. As you probably surmised by this point, everything to do with the Bible and prophecy is controversial. Some have said that a jubilee is celebrated during year 50 after the jubilee is over. Then after that 50th year is over, the next jubilee starts. I disagree because the book of Jubilees makes it very clear that a jubilee is a total of 49 years, no more, no less. Jubilees 2:8-9. And on the 4th day he created the sun and the moon and the stars, and set them in the firmament of the heaven, to give light upon all the earth, and to rule over the day and the night, and divide the light from the darkness. And Yahweh appointed the sun to be a great sign in the earth for days and for Shabbats, and for months and for feasts and for years, and for Shabbats of years, and for jubilees, and for all seasons of the year. Jubilees 4:29-30. And at the close of the 19th Jubilee, in the 7th week, in the 6th year, 9:30 a.m. thereof, Adam died, and all his sons buried him in the land of his creation. And he was the first to be buried in the earth. And he lacked 70 years of 1,000 years. For 1,000 years are as one day in the testimony of the heavens. And therefore was it written concerning the tree of knowledge, On the day that you eat thereof, you shall die. For this reason he did not complete the years of this day, for he died during it. And at the close of the 19th Jubilee, 883-931, in the 7th week, 925-931, in the 6th year, 930, using 49 years per Jubilee. Also notice that the book of Jubilee confirms that Adam did die before the first day ended. Now let's go over to a page of Jubilees that I set up, another chart that I designed. And here we have the number of Jubilees, which are each 49 years, 1-49, 50-98, 99-147, etc. Now across, I show you the Jubilee here, 1-49 years, and now these are the weeks of the Jubilees. Week 1 is 1-7, week 2 is year 8-14, week 3 is 15-21, week 4, 22-28, and so on, all the way to year 49. So when we're talking about Adam's age, it says the 19th Jubilee. In the 7th week, over here, 7th week, in the 6th year. So we have 925, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. 930 is the 6th year. Now we'll go back to the reading. And as you can see, he died in year 930. Okay? Those Jubilees that I was counting for you were all 49-year Jubilees. No 50 was involved whatsoever. The author of the book uses Jubilees as a matter-of-fact way of counting, like a century to us is always 100 years. A Jubilee is always 49 years. He states the ages of the patriarchs and matriarch Sarah in jubilees and in years of which match up with the Holy Bible. See charts on page 112 to 113 to verify the author's use of 49-year jubilees. And that was the chart I just showed you. The Book of Jubilees, Jubilees 19:7, and the days of Sarah were 127 years. That is 2 jubilees and 4 weeks and 1 year. These are the days of the years of Sarah's life. 2 jubilees is 2 times 49 equal 98, and 4 weeks is 4 times 7 equal 28, and 1 year is 1 year. 98 plus 28 plus 1 equal 127. Obviously counting in jubilees. Jubilee 23:8 to 9, and he, Abraham, lived 3 jubilees and 4 weeks of years, 175 years, and completed the days of his life, being old and full of days. For the days of the forefathers of their life were 19 jubilees, 931 years, and after the flood they began to grow less than 19 jubilees, and to decrease in jubilees, and grow old quickly, and to be full of their days by reason of manifold tribulation, and the wickedness of their ways, with the exception of Abraham. 3 jubilees, 3 times 49, equals 147, and 4 weeks of years, 4 times 7 again is 28. 147 plus 28 equals 175 years. Now let's go to the Bible to confirm that. Genesis 5:1 to 32. This is the book of the generations of Adam. In the day that God created man, in the likeness of God made he him, male and female. Created he them and blessed them, and called their name Adam in the day when they were created. And Adam lived 130 years, and begat a son in his own likeness after his image, and called his name Seth. And the days of Adam after he had begotten Seth were 800 years, and he begat sons and daughters, and all the days of Adam lived were 930 years, and he died. Genesis 23:1-2. Now the years of Sarah's life were 127, and Sarah's death took place at Kiriath Arba, that is, Hebron, in the land of Canaan. And Abraham went into his house weeping and sorrowing for Sarah. Genesis 25:7-8. Now the years of Abraham's life were 175, and Abraham came to his death an old man, full of years, and he was put to rest with his people at 175. So it coincides with the Jubilee book. Not only does the time period for 7-year tribulation work out perfectly on the Hebrew and Christian calendars with respect to the 14 prophetic numeric verses, it also makes sense with the timing of the Jubilees. The completion of a Jubilee was cause for a great celebration. The first year of the tribulation will be the greatest celebration of all time, to this point anyway, because worldwide peace will be established for the first time since creation. The peace will be established after the first end-time war against Israel. Essentially, this war is a battle between the descendants of Jacob, who was renamed Israel, and Esau. Other notable events that will happen during the year 5782 on the Christian calendar will be 2021 to 2022. The first end-time war against Israel begins on 10 Tishri. Dome of the Rock will be obliterated, and the Temple Mount will be wiped clean on the changeover between 10 and 11 Tishri. First end-time war against Israel ends on 11 Tishri. Begin to bury bodies of the dead from the war on 11 Tishri. Begin building the third temple in Jerusalem on the Temple Mount, also on 11 Tishri. The 144,000 witnesses will go to the wilderness for 40 days of testing on 11 Tishri. On 15 Tishri, the world signs a 3-year peace treaty with Israel. On 20 Heshvan, the second year, the 20th day second month, 20th day, 144,000 witnesses will be sealed and start the greater Exodus. On 11 Nisan, they will finish burying the bodies of the dead from the war. That is 7 months later. And from 11 to 14 Nisan, the land will be searched for any remainder of bodies so it is clean for sacrifices. On 14 Nisan, sacrifices will begin on the altar at the Temple Mount in the late afternoon, just before the changeover to 15 Nisan at sunset. This peace will not be the final true peace that the Messiah will bring, but most of the world will not know that. Even for those of us who do, it will be a chance to catch our breath and get ready for the worst tribulation the world has ever seen. We cannot change a history that has already happened for God. That is how God was able to have our ancestors write prophecies about it. He showed them visions of Earth's future from His past. For Him, it is history and future because He is the creator of time. See Jubilees 1:1-6 on page 96. He gave our ancestors dreams and visions, and some of them even had the ability to time travel, like John, so that they could write it all down to help us in the time of the end. Enoch 1:1-2. These are the words of the blessings of Enoch, according to which he blessed the chosen and righteous, who must be present on the day of distress, which is appointed for the removal of all the wicked and impious. Enoch began his story and said, "There was a righteous man whose eyes were opened by the Lord, and he saw a holy vision in the heavens which the angel showed to me, and I heard everything from them, and I understood what I saw, but not for this generation, but for a distant generation that will come." The chosen ones are here today precisely at this point in time to interpret the prophecies and tell everyone the good news, the gospel, that Jesus, Yeshua, is coming to bring salvation. He actually is salvation because that's what Yeshua means. For all who believe in Him, we are to be like Paul and tell as much of the story as each individual will hear. The more a believer hears, understands, and adheres to, the less tribulation they will have to suffer. Matthew 24:15-16. Someday you will see that horrible thing in the holy place, just as the prophet Daniel said. Everyone who reads this must try to understand. If you are living in Judea at the time, run to the mountains. If you are not in Judea, literally an area in Israel, you will suffer the great tribulation, because you will not have time to make it to the protected wilderness from anywhere else in the world. Remember, God's obedient people who are pilgrimaging to Jerusalem, which is in Judea, 3 times per year, will be there for the Passover. The saints who are patient will be those who patiently wait in the protected wilderness for Yeshua. Revelation 14:12. Here is the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of God and the faith of Jesus. I am going to break right here and split chapter 7 in two because there's still quite a bit of the chapter left. Thanks for listening. And again, my site is estherofisrael.wix.com/secrets revealed. When you get there, this is ordering information on the home page of my site at the very bottom, and right here you can click to see all my other YouTube videos. There's also a short video on how to order a book. If you are not from the United States, you need to email me and give me your country so I can get your postage information. May God bless you today and every day.